guys, it's Win12 and welcome back to my channel. Today we're building a house and I have no idea what aesthetic this house is, to be honest. It was gonna be like one of those starter homes that are like ugly but kind of cute. You know what I'm talking about? Like houses that are suburban and they look kind of ugly in real life, but in The Sims they're like ugly but kind of cute. I don't know if you guys have any idea what I'm talking about, but that was my goal and in the beginning was this starter home that was like suburban, typical suburban, but it sort of transformed into something else and I have no idea what aesthetic it is now. I don't think this necessarily makes that much sense in terms of realistic architecture, but that's okay. It's sort of like it has a lot of very contemporary aspects. Like they have these, the big windows from Snowy Escape that are just kind of like simple rectangular windows. We've got the craftsman doors from Seasons, but then we also have a lot of stuff from Cottage Living that's obviously very traditional and British and not contemporary at all. For example, the roof here is sheet metal, but then the bump out I add on the right is going to use the thatched roofing. So it's like it's like a weird mix of traditional British cottage, farmhouse, and also contemporary. So I kind of think maybe this house was like in a small cottage or something that got renovated into this more contemporary version of it. Like maybe it's still in the process of being more contemporary or modernized, but right now it's like in the middle. So the outside is still like, I don't know, it actually looks pretty contemporary. Like it almost looks like one of those houses that were purposefully made to look like old cottages but are actually new. So I actually really like how this turns out. Like the aesthetic is really nice, but I just don't know what it is. Like I don't know what to label this video. I don't have a title in mind. So yeah, and I also think that it realistically you'd probably never see a house that uses this sort of aesthetic of like half contemporary, half country. So it's a little bit weird, but it turns out nice and that's all that matters. So yeah, and it's a pretty small house. I don't know if it abides by a tile count. I get the feeling that if it does, it's going to be like a tier 3, just because I did end up adding these porches, and you know how porches add tiles really quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't a tiny home. I didn't check before I put this up on the gallery, so you're going to have to look at it on your own. Also, guys, I did playtest this video, okay? Or not this video. I playtested this build for once. I don't usually playtest my builds. Like, I build them with the intention of them being functional, but I don't actually check that they're functional. This one I actually checked. Everything works out. I did forget to check whether the couch works, though, so my bad. But everything else works, for sure. So the inside of this house is very closed off, which is another thing that really confused me, because I was like, if this is a house that's been like modernized or has had some renovations done to it, you wouldn't have like a closed off floor plan. But I don't know, I really want to do a galley kitchen for once in my life, so I was really intent on having this like closed off floor plan. So that's what I did. It doesn't make sense. Again, I don't think you would ever see something like this in real life where it's like half contemporary but then the floor plan is so closed off. But I think it turns out nice. Like it flows pretty well. The pathing seems to work out pretty okay. The room sizes are okay. This actually does fit 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms in it. And yeah, I was actually a little bit surprised by that. Originally, I was thinking I might have to make it 1 bed, 1 bath, but I was determined to not do that. I think I cut out the footage of me doing the floor plan because after a while of messing around with it, I get bored and I get annoyed because I couldn't figure it out. Because I don't know, I have an issue with square boxes. I don't do very well with them, especially when I'm trying to make like a closed off floor plan. I feel like there's only so many ways to do the floor plan, and the way I was doing it was not something I enjoyed. So yeah, especially when you have the door in the middle of the build, it limits your things a lot because you want to kind of keep it centered, like this focal point of the house, but then it just turns out very difficult to like build houses when the door is like right smack dab in the middle. I feel like it's a lot easier to make more open, bigger homes when you have the door to the side rather than in the middle, especially such a big door that's three tiles wide on such a small house. This is built on a 20 by 15. Keep in mind, it does use up the lot, but it's still pretty small, at least in comparison to what I usually build. So yeah. Also, going back to the play tested part, I think recently on Twitter, Maya Shmaya asked on Twitter about whether playable means play tested or if they're different, because someone had commented on her build asking if it was playable despite the fact that it said it was play tested. And I thought that was actually really interesting because in my mind, like, if something's play tested, it's assumed playable. Like, what's the point of play testing a build if you're not going to make it functional, or at least say what is and isn't functional? So I've never thought of it as, like, if a house is considered play tested, it doesn't necessarily mean it's playable. But I'm kind of curious what your guys' opinions are, because that's just never something I've considered, like, if it's playable or not. If playable means play tested. I think it's just assumed because, like, for example, I feel like when everyone play tests, especially on stream or on YouTube, if they're play testing something, they're also moving things around if it doesn't work. So it's just kind of assumed that it's playable. But then I was seeing that some people were responding to her question saying that they don't necessarily think that playable and play tested mean the same thing. I mean, obviously the words are very different because if you just say play tested or tested, it doesn't mean that it's said that it works. But for example, like, you always say, if you see, like, on products, you say, like, this has been tested on humans or tested on animals. It's the assumption that they're saying it works because it's been tested, or that there's no harmful aspects, at least in that case. But they don't have to go into detail and say, oh, it clearly works because it was tested on this. Like, it's just assumed that it works. But I'm kind of curious what your guys' thoughts are, because I've never really considered that before. Like, if they're the same or not. I think they are, but I'm interested. What are your guys' opinions on that? We also just got news that The Sims is not releasing any more DLC aside from I think there's like 2 more kits that have to be released. We do have some base game updates coming up, which I'm pretty excited about, but I'm a little bit worried. Like, I'm not upset that new DLC isn't being released, but I do find myself, like, I do get bored building, and right now I have been having issues building a lot lately. So the fact that we're not getting new DLC to kind of play with is a little bit unfortunate in my mind. Like, I'm not upset about it because I do think we need to fix this game a lot. I've seen a lot of people talking about how the game's become really unplayable because of the lag. There's a lot of glitches now that are just driving me crazy. I don't usually experience glitches, but there has been a lot lately, and so it's been a little bit annoying to deal with. Especially build glitches, because I'm a builder, so, like, gameplay wise I don't notice that many glitches, and usually I don't get annoyed that much, but, like, Sims are randomly teleporting all over the place. There's a lot of pathing issues. I don't know, it's just been weird. There's a lot of weird glitches going around, so I'm glad that they're doing some updates, and I hope with the updates they'll also be fixing things, because I'm kind of worried that updates might just mean something superficial, like adding new swatches or adding some more free content, which would be great. But again, like, if they're going to take the time off, then I really want them to fix the glitches. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that? I don't know. I'm not particularly happy about it, but I'm not, like, super upset about it either. Like, it's kind of like a mixed situation. Like, I have mixed feelings. Like, part of me is happy about it and part of me is like, oh. The other thing is, though, that, like, because of the builder's block, but the other thing is that I like getting new content. This is like a YouTuber thing. I like getting new content because my viewership always spikes, and, like, there's people to talk to. I feel like the Sims community is very quiet right now because there's nothing to really talk about. So it's really quiet, which is unfortunate. I feel like I'm not hearing from that many people that I usually hear from on Twitter. And I like hearing people's opinions on things, and right now there's just not a lot of opinions to give, unless you're going to complain about other stuff that's already been there. So yeah, I mean, I guess there's been some talk about the kits and stuff, but that's, like, old talk. It's just the same thing over and over again about how we don't like kits or we do like kits. So yeah, I don't know. It's just unfortunate because this community's being quiet. I have builder's block, so I want new content, and then on top of that, I just feel like my viewership spikes. Like, I think I just said this. My viewership spikes whenever new content comes out. I'm pretty sure this is the case for everyone, right? Because after a while, you get bored of playing a game. But when you get new content, interest kind of spikes back. So I also really like making videos on new content because my viewership spikes. I usually get comments about opinions. People have conversations with me about the stuff. So it's just unfortunate that we're not getting new items. Like I said, bittersweet. It's bittersweet. I just hope the updates are worth it, because if they're just taking this time off, And then they come up with these crappy updates. I'm gonna be very upset. The other thing is that I'm a little bit like curious if The Sims 4 is kind of halting. I don't know, maybe they're just taking the time off to fix the game because it's been so glitchy, but I also feel like maybe they're kind of getting ready for Sims 5. Like, I feel like maybe people are getting moved onto Project. I mean, I'm sure people have been working on Sims 5 already, because Sims 3 was in development for a long time before it came out, but I just feel like maybe, they're moving over to Sims 5. I'm not sure. I'm kind of thinking next year maybe we're not going to get as much content anymore. They've definitely diverged from their process. We usually get a lot more content than we have recently. So it's a little bit bizarre. We're in a weird position in The Sims 4, and I'm curious what's going to happen next. But yeah, that's my rant on that. Back to the room. As you can see, there's a lot of like kind of contemporary aspects. Like this living room is a little bit more contemporary. There's also like an older couch on the right, but then you have these mid-century modern and more contemporary couches on the other side. The furniture is still a little bit more traditional, like for example this accent table, the coffee table is, the dining room has these more cottagey chairs, but then the table itself is a little bit more modernized. I don't know, it's just a weird house. The kitchen is completely traditional. There's nothing modern about the kitchen because I just felt like maybe that hadn't been modernized. I felt like if I'm going with the idea that this has been modernized, kind of, then I just feel like the kitchen, you would kind of keep the charm. I don't know. Some people, the first thing they would do is modernize a kitchen and like take it out and add new stuff, but that feels like a lot of work, so I didn't do that. The house is also very bland in terms of its color scheme, except for the bedrooms, which I thought was a little bit odd. Like the bedrooms do not fit the aesthetic of the rest of the house at all. Like they're old and traditional, but the color schemes are a little bit out there in comparison to the rest of the house. So yeah, it was a weird house. Weird aesthetics, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the backyard, what did I put in the backyard? The backyard is really small because I just didn't have that much space. The house kind of takes up the whole lot. But in the backyard, I think we have a chicken coop. We've got some gardening plants. I feel like this would have been better set in the cottage living world, Henford on Bagley. So I think when I take screenshots, I'm going to take the pictures there. I just feel like it fits that world. I feel like maybe I could put it in the town area, on like one of the smaller lots. I think that would work out pretty well. So that's what I'm going to do probably. But I built this in Newcrest on the Comfy Covey lot, which is like the corner 20 by 15. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think I'm running out of things to say. I'm just kind of babbling now, but that's kind of all my videos in a nutshell. So also, guys, I think I've said this already, but I've got quite a few collabs coming up. Obviously, I have part 2 of my collab with Nard Villain that we're still working on. I've actually already finished my build. I finished it within like the first 3 days of him giving me the shell. I just got excited and I wanted to make sure I got it done because if it got I don't want to be the reason it gets postponed, so I was like, I'm just gonna get it done as quickly as possible. So that was fun. I actually haven't messaged him yet, but I need to because I want to see where he's at. I feel like his is going to take substantially longer than me because he gave me a pretty decent shell. I gave him a monstrosity. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one takes him some time. So I don't know when the second part of that collab is coming out, but I've got another collab coming out in 2 weeks, early November, with 2 other simmers actually, and then I have 2 collabs in the works. We're talking about it, but we haven't built anything yet. I have a feeling one of them is probably going to come out next week because I have a feeling that one will come out next week and the other one might take a little bit longer. And then I also have a collab coming out late November, so yeah, that's a lot. I don't know how they all managed to happen within the same 2-3 weeks, but it just ended up that way. Anyways, if you guys ever want to collab with me, you can message me on any of my social media platforms. You could email me even. You could comment on my videos, and I'm going to be yeah, I'll collab with you. I don't think there's ever going to be a reason for me to say no to a collab. Even if I don't have the time, I'll be yeah, but can we set the deadline a month later? But I think it's pretty rare. I don't expect to say no to many collabs ever. I haven't said no to a collab yet. And I don't expect to, but I won't make the promise that I'll always say yes. But I think it's 95% certain that I'll say yes if you want to collaborate with me, unless you're like a jerk or something. I don't really feel a need to say no to a collaboration. But yeah, so if you guys ever want to collab, you can message me or contact me. Sometimes I message people for collabs, but I'm usually scared too, because I'm always like, what if they don't want to? Like, because some of the people I would like to ask are like substantially like bigger than me. Like, I have 200 subs. They maybe have like 300 or 400. I don't have 200. I have 170, but I rounded up for some reason. Some people I was like want to ask have somewhere between like 300 or 400 subs. I'm like, do you think they would care that I'm like smaller? I don't think they would. Like, I wouldn't care if it was like the other way around, but I never know. So it's always like scared to ask. Like, I'm always scared to ask people that have more subs than me. Like, because what if they do care? And they're like, what is this tiny account asking to collab? I don't know. I feel like there's people like that, but I don't think I know anyone in the Sims community like that. But still, I don't ask. I should ask. I need to ask at some point. But yeah, we've reached the end of the video and I'm done ranting. So I hope you guys liked this video. Let me know what aesthetic you think this house is, because I have no idea what aesthetic this house is. If you want to collab, you can always message me. And yeah, I hope you guys like this video. As always, if you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, hit the subscribe button. And if you really like me and want to be notified every single time I post a video, go ahead and hit that bell button. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you next time.